Good morning. How's everybody doing out there? I'm excited about today's ZENcast. We're doing ZENworks full disk encryption today. We have some guests on with us, Richard Rollins and Dave Chiara, and there's some FDE developers that can give us some great details on what's coming up and currently what's in the product. We're going to do a little bit of house cleaning first. When you log into YouTube chat, do so, and you can join in the conversation in chat. If you see an @ sign, you can direct message the person that's talking, so you can actually direct message them, and they'll get it highlighted on the screen. So if I did an @ and I used my wife's account to make sure everything's sending properly. But with that @ and her name will pop up. And whatever message you put after it, it'll obviously go directly to her and highlight. So you have that one-on-one conversation, even though it's a community forum. But direct message is one thing, but also that you'll see in my presentation while we're online live, the exclamation point with commands. And that's so you can actually get that URL without having to type it out. Now you people that are reviewing the video recording, obviously you won't have that option. But if you're on live and you see the exclamation point, go ahead and type that command in, and that way you can get the URL in the chat window and click on it so that you're able to go directly there. YouTube settings, it's always good to have autoplay off and the quality 720p60 set, and you'll get the best of that video. So be sure to double check those, and of course subscribe to notifications. If you subscribe either on the YouTube and you're logged into YouTube, or subscribe on Twitter at PF Pedron, you'll get notifications when I go live, or at least 20 minutes prior to go live, so that you can see if you want to join. You have time to close things out. So just wanted to let you know that was some of the housekeeping tips. We're going to go over to conference gatherings. We have, of course, the ZENcast on this YouTube channel. Meets the first and third Tuesday of each month at 9 o'clock Mountain Time, North America. And we have different topics, and topics mostly come from you. And we'll get into that in just a little bit on a survey. But you can also subscribe at this Micro Focus Support and Training YouTube channel. Micro Focus Virtual GMT Summit is starting this week. As a matter of fact, yesterday I think it started. And you can register and go out and see some of the products that you're using, and be able to see some of the sessions out there. So double check that and see if you're able to check out that summit that's going on right now. And then Micro Focus Bangalore Technical Conference is coming up in January 2021, and they're looking for customers that can give input to developers. So if you're interested as a customer to have some input into the product itself for this particular conference, let Peter Atkins know, and he'll give you the do's and don'ts and what they're looking for, and take your questions at that point. So be aware that they're soliciting customers for that input. Okay, Patch Tuesday highlights. I checked this morning. November's isn't in yet, but that's typical. It normally is around the mid-month. So you can go out there every month. They do Patch Tuesday highlights, and October's is out there, and it gives you a great briefing on vulnerabilities on the different OSs and what to look for when you're patching. Micro Focus Desktop 20, version 20 is out there. Desktop Containers version 20 is out there, and it includes application streaming. And that add-on has been released, and you should see it. If you have version 20 out in your portal, you own the streaming portion of it as well. So check it out. We're going to have another demo on that a little bit later, but there's a great webinar out there that Jason Blackett put out regarding the streaming and how to use that, and what you can do for your at-home workers, being able to deploy those bundles. And then don't forget about the Open Horizons magazine. That particular magazine has some great stuff in it, not just ZENworks. It's a lot of products, but it also has the ZENworks stuff, so you can keep current on those particular details. And then product news. ZENworks Configuration Management, we're currently at 2020 Update 1. Again, you can go to TID 7024523 to get the ZDC, the agent cleanup, the update. ZCM Pru, October 2020 is out. Actually, November 2020, I need to update the slide, is out. And then the latest imaging driver update, because we do get questions at support about what's the latest imaging driver update. It was the one for June. I'm sure they're developing another one. They're constantly developing. It's just when do they publish it for the next set of imaging driver updates. ZCM 2017 committed support. It has been extended. It ends April next year, end of April next year. So that's good. And then ZCM 2020 Update 2 Alpha 1 is out. And you can go out to the ZENworks forums and sign up to be able to view that and get involved. ZENworks Service Desk 8.2 was released October 2020. Security patches and cadence is November and February. So for that appliance, the appliance for ZENworks Service Desk reporting server, and are both in November and February coming up. They have a 3-month cadence, so you'd go to online updates for that appliance to get those online updates. Same with ZENworks Reporting Server. It's at version 7.2, and it also has some security patches out there. Desktop containers we talked about a little bit, includes a Turbo Hub and streaming for at-home workers. Check it out. You got to check it out if you have it. I mean, it's a very powerful tool. And DB migrations tools, as we mentioned before, we do have DB migrations. We're moving off of Sybase going to 2020, so there's a migration tool to go off to Sybase to MS SQL or Oracle or PostgreSQL. And same with ZENworks Service Desk. There is a migration tool should you want to move off of MS SQL to Postgres. Few Micro Focus resources that we've talked about before, new support, Micro Focus support pages, Exchange portal. Please put your ideas in. This is where we get a lot of great enhancements for our products, and you bring in the great ideas. Let's use them and get them in the product. Product lifecycle. If you're concerned about your lifecycle of your product, you can go out there and double check when your product is expiring so that you can be sure to stay on the latest. Hello, Don. Thanks for coming in today. I'm glad you're with us. I appreciate you being here. Micro Focus product resources as well. There's product resources you can go to as well. So again, searching the Micro Focus site, you can go just to microfocus.com and then click the search, the magnifying glass, put in your topic, and it'll give you a drop down. They're still redesigning some of these, so it's not at its end run yet, but they've improved the indexing quite a bit. And then Patch Finder, make sure you double check your Patch Finder. It'll give you everything involved with that particular version. So TIDs and so forth. Micro Focus ZENworks online community. Go on out there, get connected. You can connect with peers, share your knowledge, find solutions and answers to your technical questions. We review it. We try to stay on top of some of those questions back if you're having a problem with your particular product, and then stay informed on new releases and product enhancements, and access downloads to demos, videos, and support tips. So, hello, Jose. Glad you could join us. Thanks for coming aboard today and visiting with us. We're happy to have you here. We're just doing some house cleaning, and then we'll get right into the lab talk in a minute. Micro Focus education resources. We're combining resources into one. We have them from different areas, and we're slowly combining them so you're able to go to one place. The Micro Focus Educational Central will be the final landing point for that, but we do still have some others that haven't been transferred over yet, so the on-demand and the educational course catalog. And there are freebies out under the on-demand as well. Micro Focus Pass to certification, we're now using the Acclaim badges, which is the industry standard. And then Support and Training YouTube channel Very valuable, this channel here. And there's many products on there, not just the ZENworks endpoint management, but there's Filer, iPrint, Cobalt, and the other Micro Focus products you can actually learn from. They have videos out there. And then the ZENworks webinar recordings. You may say, well, why do I need to worry about a webinar 2 years ago? Well, the ZENworks is always enhancing the product. So what we're talking about then may have been new then, but it still pertains. So you'll find some great information, great resources on some of your product that you may not have known how or that it even existed. So, the audit management, things like that, inventory, certification, certificates. So just be aware that, check that every once in a while. Obviously, review the old ones and then keep a watch on the new ones that come in. It's a great index out there. And again, if you wanted to, you can type !webinar, and it should, like I did in the chat, and you should see the URL come up. Okay. Other news, yes, Service Desk was released last month. ZCM 2017 support is extended. The 2020 Update 2 Alpha 1 is now available. Those are the links you can go to see those or visit those sites to get more information. And then Micro Focus ZENworks supports significant annual savings and 6-fold increase in POS deployment frequency. This particular article is with one of our customers, and it's a success story and how we rolled out ZENworks to a company that has POS payment. Forgot the term. POS is the registers, basically, and point of sale, and how they're getting so much more out of their product using ZENworks. They're able to leverage the updates and everything much quicker. Most of all, I want to make sure how we're doing. So ZENcast Live has done 22 sessions. We're excited about this. We're glad that you seem to be involved, and we're getting details from you. We want to get the word out, but we also want to make sure that you guys are that we're on the right track. So there's a survey out there for ZENcast progress, and we want to make sure that we're meeting your expectations. We want to make sure we can provide any more improvements just to see how we're doing. So I've had some responses out there. It looks like we're on target. Looks like we can improve in a couple of different areas, but that's what we're here for, is for you. So if you can give your feedback on how this ZENcast is going, we would love to be able to improve it for you, because we want to keep this thing going as long as you feel it's worthy. Last ZENcast demo was on ZENworks Service Desk version 8.2. What's new in an upgrade demo? I did an upgrade demo on that. Remember, one thing I didn't cover at the very end, remember to re-register for the version 8.2 online updates, because it's a different channel now that it's a new version. So know that that's there, and once you migrate to the new appliance, be sure to re-register so you get those online updates. And of course, here's some links for last review, Service Desk product documentation, what's new, install guide, the ZENcast video that we did last week, so you can have that demonstration if you wanted to review it again. And then, of course, the ZSD version 8.x cookbook, which is TID 7023510. So that's all there. That kind of sums up that particular one. I think we didn't have too many questions. I did receive some questions offline, and I'm answering those one-on-one. So again, if you have questions and you missed the stream or you're watching the recording, feel free to email us so that we can answer those questions for you. We want to make sure that your product is doing the best it can for you. So again, if you're just joining in, log into YouTube chat, join in the conversation down below, and then the exclamation commands are in the screenshots, and then subscribe to this Micro Focus channel so that you get alerted when we go live. Today's topic, we're doing ZENworks full disk encryption demonstration. We're going to be talking with a couple of engineers about full disk encryption. So have your questions coming. Upcoming is certificates for next in 2 weeks. It's going to be ZENworks certificates on ZCM. And then we have other things upcoming, virtual application streaming with Admin Studio, database maintenance and tips. Because as you know, we've lost Sybase, right? We're no longer doing Sybase. If you're used to that, how do you do the Postgres maintenance or management? We'll cover some of that, as well as other database maintenance tips. And then ZENworks 2020 Update 2 is coming up. So after the first of the year, we'll probably have something on that for you so you can see what's coming up. But today is full disk encryption, and we're going to be going over to ZENcast Lab Talk. And we have one thing that I thought was really, really cool. This was in one of the presentations, the 3 states of digital data: data at rest, data in motion, and data in use, and how to use it. Now, this particular video was, or webinar was presented in 2017, but it has some real relevant data, and I'll have that link at the end of this particular presentation. But let's not hold back. We have Richard Rollins and Dave Chiara on the phone with us, and they're gonna, on the phone, wow, do I sound old school or what? They're gonna present some FDE stuff. So we have MSEncryption RSD Exclusion Lists, and you may be going, what? What's that? Why? Troubleshooting PBA menus, emergency recover, BitLocker, troubleshooting, and stuff like that. So today's agenda is going to be with the FDE guys, Richard Rollins and Dave Chiara. Are you there, Dave? Richard? There you are. Great to have you guys on today. You have great knowledge of full disk encryption. We're glad that you're on our support team so that you can help us when we don't quite have the answers for our customers in support. So we currently have you guys ready to do some demos for us. I appreciate you volunteering on some details here. I think, go ahead and, Richard, tell us a little bit about yourself. Hang on a second. I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't know that we have your audio going. Let me grab it again. Remember, we tested this before. I thought I saved it. Maybe I didn't. Hang on one sec. Yeah, let's go here. Add source. Okay, so that's much better. I'm sorry. Dave Chiara and Richard Rollins are here today with us, and we're going to start a little bit over. We're going to backstep a little bit. Richard, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're an FDE engineer.
Okay, I'm a software engineer on the ZENworks Endpoint Security Management Team, ZESM. I've worked for Micro Focus and its various incarnations for 17 years.
Right.
Enjoy it very much. Expect to be here for longer, and I'm happy to be able to present something new for you today.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're going to be doing the MSEncryption Exclusion List, so we're excited to hear something about that. And Dave, how about you?
Same thing. I was a little shocked to hear 17 years. I guess it has been 17 years, Richard. It's been a long time. I've been here the same amount of time as Richard. We both started out as a startup that got acquired by Novell that got moved into Micro Focus. So I'm in the testing side, so I don't do any of the coding or anything like that, but I help test the product for both the ZENworks Endpoint Security Management product as well as the full disk encryption product.
Sure, long journey, huh? But you guys have been essential in helping us take care of some of the things that, I mean, the hardware is moving so fast. You guys got to keep up, and that must be challenging at times. So let's go on over to Richard. I think you're going to start first. You wanted to talk a little bit about the MSEncryption RSD Exclusion List.
Correct.
I currently have your slide up. You talked a little bit about customer request, deprecate, and allows customer greater flexibility. So go ahead and that. I'm kind of controlling his slides, so bear with us.
Okay. Should I
We want
share
to.
my
Okay, yeah. Let me go over the slide real quick, and then you'll cover it in your demo. So
Okay.
Richard wanted to talk about customer requesting this. This is a customer request from you guys. Uh, how to deprecate a policy that has issues on Windows 10 devices, and then allowing the customer greater flexibility over which drives are encrypted. You can exclude certain hardware drives, encrypt all removable drives except exclude removable drives. USB drives with hardware encryption do not need software, so you don't need the software encryption. So you have a lot of flexibility on this new type of exclusion list. And I'm going to move over to MS Teams so we can see your screen. Go ahead, Richard, and claim your screen.
Okay, I'll set it to share. I have you in here. Are you able to
I see your screen. Yes, thank you.
Great. Well, I'll start right in then. The MS encryption policy, the Microsoft data encryption policy, pertains to removable storage devices, thumb drives, and we've added a new feature. This has actually been in the product for about a year, and so we have just recently, like Paul mentioned, had customer requests to be able to exclude certain drives from being encrypted. If you're the CEO and don't, you feel secure and want to share your drive with other people in a non-encrypted state, then that's your prerogative. And so I'm going to start with the policy generation. This is live. This is something that's never been seen before. This partly because it's still under construction somewhat. So this is live, connected to a server in our lab, in our development lab, and I'm going to demonstrate the creation of the policy to start with.
Just in case it's a little smaller, can you go ahead and do the control and get it bigger? That's great. Thank you.
Okay, well.
So this is new. You're saying this isn't in update 1. This is coming in future.
Correct.
And it's allowing us to have exclusions.
Exactly. So this configuration screen has been, this part of it has been part of the product for about a year or so. And so if anybody's ever done this would look familiar, but this is the mechanism to generate a policy for control of removable storage devices. So we just a quick review if you haven't seen this. This is a selection of the encryption algorithm, and if you're wondering what that is, you can click on the information button here, and it illustrates that the different modes of encryption, the compatibility modes for various Windows versions are listed here. So this option here is provided if the newer version, the XTS AES, is supported. It'll use that. Otherwise, it'll default back to the older compatible style. Encrypt the entire drive or use drive space. That's fairly straightforward. Unlock methods. This one requires strong unlock password. If you're wondering what a strong unlock password is, you can click the info button again and learn here that the requirements for the strong password, pretty standard stuff. We didn't make that up. That's a Microsoft standard, actually. And then this part here, the excluded drives, this is the new section. So what this does is allows you to input a drive type, and I have configured this to exclude all SanDisk drives. And so the name SanDisk is a reference only to be used for looking up. I'll show later in the policy configuration. And then the vendor ID, this is a decimal 1921, and I'll show how we derive that using the scan tool. And so if there are advanced properties that you are interested in, we include all of the properties that a removable storage device can have, the subclass, protocol. These are all part of the USB standard and can be configured for isolation of any particular element or part of a drive that you want to define. So, given that, we create that as part of the policy and publish it, and we've already done that. Some of this is still under construction, so I'm going to stick to script here, and that will be how a policy is created and what the definitions are. So on the client side now, I have two thumb drives in front of me. This one I'm going to insert, and you will see it is running in a VM, this client. So we're going to connect to this virtual machine, and we see that this is a non-excluded drive, and as such, it's going to ask us to input these parameters, a password and a hint, and this is something I use for my testing all the time. And it will go through now and encrypt this drive. And again, like I say, this isn't new. This part of it isn't new per se in the product, but if you haven't seen it before, this is what happens, how we manage removable storage. And so we're going through programmatically and encrypting this drive with BitLocker, applying the encryption, and there's various phases that it goes through. And so these are the different requirements to do this programmatically. And so we can see each phase as it occurs. And now we're going to begin encryption. We want to let this go ahead and encrypt it. It doesn't have much on it, so this won't take very long.
So you're managing the native Microsoft BitLocker.
Correct. So that's one of the real advantages of doing it this way, is that we can push BitLocker policies out from our management console, and then we also have recovery options that make it simpler to use. That I know people that are in the IT management business with other entities, and that's one of their premier concerns, is that recovery and management of passwords and getting everybody to use BitLocker is sometimes a bit of a challenge. So this drive is now encrypted and available, and you see here that there's a unlock icon there. And so if we look, engineers are not very inventive. So
the good old hello statement, though.
That's the only thing on that drive. But now we're going to insert another drive that meets the qualifications for the exclusion list, and that is this is a SanDisk drive. So I've inserted it, and you can see there is no lock icon. It didn't ask for a password. It came right up. And again, this is from the excluded drive world.
Gotcha.
So that illustrates the use of a drive that was not configured for exclusion, and this one was configured for exclusion. Now, how do we know what parameters to put into the policy for exclusion? Well, this is the device scanner tool that's available from the server. And so with those two drives inserted, we can do a scan, and we see, besides some of the onboard computer embedded USB things, we see that we have two storage device drives, so that's how we can identify those. And the one is SanDisk. Now, this you see is a 0781, but that's a hexadecimal number. And if you convert that back to the decimal version that we used on the policy, then that's the appropriate ID for all SanDisk drives. And the other one is something I bought at Walmart. So, but any of these parameters could be used to identify down to an exact drive. And so that's how the scan tool plays into that. And also I wanted to demonstrate, okay, in the ZENworks about box, if we do a view policy, and we will see that it will enumerate the Microsoft encryption policy. And this shows all of the policy, how it's configured. We don't have any folders configured in this policy, but it'll show excluded drives, and it shows the parameters that are included in the policy configuration. So it's the name and the comment. So that's where the name reference comes. So we know that that was that one. And the vendor ID is what we're triggering on to exclude the drive.
So it's no longer all or nothing. It's you now can really get granular on it.
Exactly, very granular. So that's exciting for us. It's a new feature. It should be out sometime next year, first half of next year. Okay. Product management wants to say towards the middle or end of the second quarter. So
okay,
that's that. Thank you, Paul.
Well, that's pretty exciting, Richard. And I noticed, Craig, you jumped on. Thanks for coming, Craig. Craig's on my team for support. I appreciate you coming aboard. Feel free to shout out anything you have questions on as well, Craig. We value your input as well. And those out there on chat, be sure to put in any questions you might have for Richard or Dave on what they're displaying today. We'd be happy to relay that to them so they can answer it during this session. Great, Richard. I really appreciate that. That's a great way to do it. That was some of our hesitation when I was at my previous employer, and now that they can exclude, that's going to be an awesome asset for using that capability. I appreciate your time.
Should I stop sharing my screen now? Are you?
Yeah, go ahead and we're going to turn it over to Dave now. Dave had some things to show us.
Yeah, I hope you guys can hear me. It sounds like the neighbors are starting to do yard work. Perfect.
Yes,
time.
I can hear you.
Okay, let me go ahead and let's see, share my screen here. Or do you want to send me a share screen alert, Paul?
Yeah, sure. I can share my screen. You should be able to go up to the top and share. That's my screen. We don't want to do that. Let's see if I can give it to you. Hang on. I don't see it. Up in the upper right-hand corner, do you have an arrow with the box in it? Share content?
Oh, yeah.
Use
that's
that. That's
show,
how you take it.
Show conversation?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Share content. Sorry.
No, that's good.
So, you see my screen?
It is displaying now. Yes, ZENworks full disk encryption.
Okay. So my demo, I'm going to first go over some of the changes to update 1 with pre-boot authentication, and then after that I'll I'll just run through creating an emergency recovery disk and go through that process for the disaster recovery. So with update 1, we have a couple things that are new. We have a new Linux kernel that has fixed some of the old PBA issues. We had an issue with some devices where they were having problems using the GUI, like what you're seeing here, the GUI PBA, and would revert to what's called our text-based or simple PBA. And that's, with this new updated kernel, it's resolved a lot of those issues. But the one thing I want to go over now is we have, not only do we have a PBA that's using the Linux. So when we first install an FDE policy, we create a Linux partition, and we use that Linux partition for both keeping the encryption keys on it, as well as if you enable pre-boot authentication, we use that Linux partition to boot to. But with update 1, we also have a UEFI PBA. And the benefit of using the UEFI PBA is you can now use your touchscreen if you have a device that has that capability to, you can use the touchscreen at the PBA authentication. So you're no longer required to have a keyboard on your device. So to show that real quick, I'll just go ahead and do a restart here. I'm going to go to our, I always call it the Control G screen, but it's really our PBA menu. So it's a way where you can actually toggle through different settings if you wish to do that. So let's go ahead and restart this machine. Yeah. And when we get to the screen that says full disk encryption, I'm going to hit G on my keyboard, and that will display the menu. And this is a menu where, during troubleshooting issues, if you had a problem with whether that's booting into Windows or whatever, you could use some of these options. This is the text-based simple PBA. So if for some reason the GUI was having trouble loading, you could use this. And this is something that will automatically display if there's something. So if you had a problem with the GUI PBA, it would, if there was a failure, it would revert to this automatically for you. Gotcha. So that's the text-based. But I want to show you the new feature, which is it's called graphical mode, but it's actually something that integrates with UEFI as opposed to the Linux kernel. And so I'll go ahead and click that. And we have two options with the graphical. You could go ahead and make it 800 by 600 resolution if you wanted to, or you could just use the default. The reason why we have this 800 by 600 resolution option is we had a bug with a specific model of the Surface Pro, and the graphical would show really small. So now we allow users to have the option to change that resolution.
I remember that, yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and choose the graphical, just the default resolution. And here it is. So this is the UEFI PBA, and this would work this works great for any machine that's has a touchscreen capability, and you don't have to, you could just use it if even if you wanted to use your keyboard, either way. My machine is just booting to, I'm just using the Windows credentials, so I'm not logged into a domain right now. But it's got the help desk feature, and then if I was using a touchscreen, I could go ahead and use the keyboard here and type in my password. And that is...
Oh.
And then it logs me into Windows. And I have single sign-on enabled, so it will go ahead and pass on those credentials into Windows and just log me straight into Windows.
Gotcha.
And that's basically the demo of just using the UEFI PBA. Now I'll kind of show you how to create an ERD disk. So let me go ahead and share my screen a little bit differently here. Let's see. Can I share my whole screen if I wanted to?
Yeah, you should be able to. Oh, yeah, I think so. Because I was viewing Richard's whole screen.
Oh, okay. Oh, here we go, desktop. Maybe that's it. Mm.
So the PBA, as you're doing that, so the PBA is something that we've modified, given a little bit better resolution, as well as defaulting to the old style, but has better GUI as well. So that's pretty good, because getting stuck at that location it could be frustrating. So we're glad that's improved, and being able to do that on the UEFI. There we go.
Well, it's just
That's your calendar.
yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry about this. I just
That's fine. So we have, let's see what we can do. Do we have any questions in chat out there? Go ahead and throw them in if you have any FDE issues. I know, Craig, you were working on a couple of issues with either the forums, I thought it was, or internally on. There was one just recently that I happened to notice coming through our chat. Oh, we got it. Go ahead.
Just a moment. I'll find the link that I sent, and then you can share that. I think I had just a couple. The issues didn't come in from the forums, but a couple of our larger customers reached out to me with saying, "Hey, we have this new issue," and so let me find that.
Okay, we can get to that when you find it. That's great. Dave, go ahead and carry on. I think we see your screen now.
okay. Well, let me do this. I'll walk you through this part first.
There we go.
When you want to create an ERD disk, if you go to, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble doing my whole desktop, but if you go into the ZCC, there's the spot where you can go ahead and download your WinPE plugin.zip.
Yes, we have.
And
we saw that screen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
good.
what you'll do is you will copy all the contents into a folder, and the best way to do that, if you were going to use one of the integrated batch files, is you would copy all this content into a folder in C, and you would create a folder called WinPE, and you would paste all of those contents into that folder. And if you have Windows ADK installed, that's one thing you're going to want to do before that, and it's an easy install. Now with the new installs of ADK, you would just follow the defaults, but there's one additional WinPE plugin that you'll need now. They kind of separated that, whereas before it was a little bit easier, but it's not that difficult. So you'll do the ADK as well as the WinPE plugin.
Gotcha.
Once you install that, then you could go ahead and run the batch file. So let me go ahead and share my Windows PowerShell. And now we'll pull that up here.
So basically, we go out to ZCC, download the zip file, put it in a folder on C called WinPE. We go ahead and extract that obviously into the folder, and then we need ADK and the WinPE plugin. At which point we should be able to then, I think, run the batch file, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And so I'll run that now, but unfortunately, I don't know why I have my PowerShell open, but it's not. I'm not seeing it as something I could share. Sorry about this.
That's all right.
Let's scroll down a little bit. Oh well. All right. Well, I'll. There's not much to see here anyway, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my PowerShell command line, and I'm just going to change my directory to C WinPE, and I'm just going to run the make.
We don't have a screen yet, though.
Yeah,
Not working so easy for you, is it? It should give you a selection of screens to choose from.
Yeah, I have. I don't see my PowerShell.
Oh, interesting.
Fortunately, I have everything else. It looks like. Shoot. Well, let me just run this real quick, and then I'll share the screen after this gets created.
Okay. All right. And that's to create the ERD disk, right?
Yeah, and it's fairly easy. Basically, it's going to ask me what platform I am, if it's going to be 32-bit or 64-bit, and then the other thing is going to ask me if I want to create an ISO or if I'm going to do it for a USB flash drive. So you have the option for both. If you're doing a USB flash drive, obviously you have to know the drive letter of your thumb drive.
Sure.
And you'll enter that in, and it will go ahead and do a format of the thumb drive, and then dump all of the WinPE files onto your thumb drive and make it bootable so that you can use the thumb drive as a emergency recovery disk if you wished.
Nice.
But in this demo, I'm just going to use, I'm going to do an ISO, and I'll have my VM boot to that ISO.
And for those watching, what I'll do is, for this recording, I'll go ahead and dub over his process in a recording so that we can actually see what's going on. That way those reviewing the recording can get an idea. I believe it's well documented, if I remember correctly. The documentation.
Yeah,
of
it
this
is.
portion
Yeah, it's
seems to be
it's not
fairly. Yeah.
It's not too difficult. Yeah.
Okay, screen's coming up.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go to my. Open my ZCC and also show you when you do this and you create the ISO, you're going to want to go to the device that you're going to decrypt. So I'll go into Devices, Workstations. This is the device that I'm going to do the demo on. If I go to encryption, this is going to show me all of my ERI files. So I've done a couple tests on this machine. You'll have both the ERI file itself that you can download or the ERI password. The ERI file is actually cached on the device, so you don't normally have to download the ERI file. You just really need the ERI password if you want to go ahead and use the cached ERI. Normally what I'll do is I will go ahead and copy this just as a trick. I'll copy this and I will put in a thumb drive and I'll create a text file and I'll give it this name, and I'll show you how I can use that to just copy and paste the password in here so I don't have to sit there and look at my ZCC over and over again and type in this, extremely long password.
Sure.
Okay, so my ISO is created. So now I'm going to, let me share my
see your windows now.
Okay, I'm just going to change the setting on here so it's going to boot to my ISO. Just one moment. Shut down.
And that's the device that's encrypted at this time, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
it's encrypted. It also has PBA enabled. So I'm just going to boot to my CD-ROM, which is pointing to my ISO file. Okay, and this is going to boot up a recovery application, which is the PERD Win32.exe. When you first boot it up, you'll get this key shows me that the drive is encrypted. The question mark just tells me that the ERI file has not yet been loaded.
Okay.
I can see that the drive is encrypted with AES encryption. And what I'll do first is I'll load the ERI file. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click Open ERI File, which will open up a browse box. And let me go ahead and connect my USB thumb drive here. Okay, so now I can see my thumb drive. And so what I did was I just created a folder here called ERI. And this is what I was talking about. I just created a text file, but I named the text file my ERI password.
Sure.
So I'm just going to go ahead and right-click that and click rename and copy that.
Brilliant.
I'll just hit cancel. And now I'm going to go ahead and select load ERI from cache. Now I could just paste in my password. And once the ERI file is loaded, you'll see that the question mark has gone away. And now I can decrypt the drive and begin the decryption process. And that's basically it. Some other options here I want to show you real quick. Boot chain is for getting past the PBA. So if you wanted to disable that as well, you can go ahead and do that. Some of these options are specific to UEFI. The disable PBA load check would allow you to disable the PBA one time, so that what you would do is you would still need to use that G screen, the control G screen.
Sure.
And down at the bottom of that is you could select it to boot directly into Windows instead of use one of the PBA options. These other options here are for legacy BIOS. So you can restore the original MBR. Obviously, this would not work on a machine that's UEFI enabled.
Gotcha.
And I'll just go ahead and decrypt the drive. Just select the drive that you wanted to decrypt, as long as there's an ERI file that's enabled. Most of the time, if I had multiple drives here, I just need the one ERI. It would change that key to all available drives. So if I had multiple drives, I could go ahead and do that. And just start the decryption process.
And then you want to remove it from the policy, right?
Yeah. You want to remove it from the policy so that on this type of situation, normally if you are decrypting your drive, it won't re-encrypt because it'll see that the policy is still enabled because the PBA and everything. But yeah, you would want to go ahead and remove the policy, and obviously the policy removal would be a lot quicker because the drive is already decrypted, so you won't have to go through that process again. Basically what's going to happen is it will deinitialize the PBA and then deinitialize FDE, and the deinitialization of FDE is basically all it does is it will remove that Linux partition.
Oh, gotcha.
And then,
right.
And then that's it.
Wow. Good deal. Okay, so we've I think the way I see it is we've simplified the process of having those batch files to be able to create these disks as well.
Exactly. Yeah, it's made it a lot easier.
That's a great enhancement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Craig, did you have anything? Any questions? He may have stepped away. And chat, do you have any questions out there for our guests here, Richard or Dave? Happy to answer any FDE questions, or at least field them so that we can get back to you if we can't answer them on the spot. Looks like Craig might be back. Go ahead, Craig.
Oh, yeah. Did you want to share your screen, Paul? And then you can bring up the link that I gave you.
Yeah, I could put it in chat. Just go ahead and did you give it to me in chat or something? Give it to me in MS Teams chat.
Oh. So there's. Hold on.
Then I'll put it in the chat window. I don't have Messenger on this box.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, hold on.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Greg. Grab this.
And in fact, I'm going to be actually even updating.
So, and what is this one here? What is this for?
Basically, this is an issue that happened with it. This is a new Windows 10 upgrade issue. that started happening within the last couple weeks. It's a Microsoft Windows bug, and when you do 1909 or 2004 upgrade, you lose all your certificate trusts.
Oh, okay. We'll definitely.
Which of course will impact CCM. The reason it's new is it only happens if your device you're upgrading has the October roll-up updates.
Okay.
So, and the basic deal is what you need to do is you need to make sure your upgrade media is upgraded with at least the October updates, because there's some kind of conflict where if your PC has certain updates from October and your upgrade media does not, you'll lose your certificate trusts. So I just had 2 people within the last 1 or 2 weeks come to me, hey, what's going on? ZCM started breaking on upgrades. I'm doing some digging around. It's a Microsoft issue that impacts all certificates. So it's not really a ZCM issue. But
okay, great. And we'll highlight that next week when we do certificates as well. So I appreciate you bringing that up. I do have a question from Jose about the PBA. Does the PBA support multi-factor authentication?
Great question. I should have covered that. Yes, it does. So you have 2 options with the PBA. You could do either a credential, whether that's provided from the domain, or a Windows credential, or you can also use a smart card credential as well. Or it has the ability to do smart cards. So you can do smart card authentication, whether that's a token from the domain, and then obviously you could have them use a Windows password credential at the Windows login. So that would be 2-factor.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions out there? Thank you, Jose, for asking that question. Is there anything else out there? Looks like this thing is just about done decrypting. I don't see any other questions. We'll wait just a minute or so for any more to come in. We appreciate both of you guys. So we have the Microsoft exclusion list that's coming up next end of half of next year, May, June or so, we'll say. And then we have this, which is already included in update 1, right? These new enhancements for the PBA and the batch file and so forth. So I don't see any other questions out there in chat. So I appreciate you guys spending some time with us and at least giving us a run through. I'll go ahead and dub over some of the making of that disk. Don't fret about that. We can get that inputted into the video. And is there any other comments you wanted about FDE or features you might be working on, or things that you can expose that were while we got you on the phone? Putting you on the spot, I know.
I don't have any other features that we can discuss right now.
Okay. Well, good.
One thing I could just show real quick, and this is something that's new with update 1, is just the boot order. And I don't know if anyone's familiar with that. Let me just show you a screenshot real quick. Let me just pull this up. Let's see if I can find it. Sorry, I'm having so many problems with Teams, but let's see if I could get this displayed. See if this works.
There we go.
Can you see? No, it's not doing the.
It's not doing the blow up, is it?
No. Let me do this again. Well, I could email you these screenshots if you want.
Yeah, I can dub them in.
What's that?
I can dub them in. Sure.
Yeah, but basically, with update 1, we changed the boot order. Whereas previously, if you had a UEFI machine, it was required that it booted to this boot order, this bootstrap entry we make called Secure Boot Manager. It's different from Secure Boot, so don't get that confused. We created a boot entry called Secure Boot Manager, and it was a requirement to boot to Secure Boot Manager in order to encrypt the drive. And we had some issues because a lot of Lenovo devices have a feature in the BIOS where they can lock the boot order. And so that would prevent us from making that the first priority. And so encryption would fail on those machines. So with the update 1, we no longer make that requirement. And so we do create a bootstrap where we piggyback off the Windows Boot Manager. And so the boot order is a little bit different with update 1.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. And I'll send you those screenshots so you can go ahead and have those.
Yeah, that'll be great. We'll add them to the presentation. That's fantastic. I don't have any other comments out there. I appreciate those that have commented and asking questions. Richard, Craig, and Dave, I appreciate you guys coming aboard today and giving us some insight on the full disk encryption and some of the new stuff that will be coming out next year, as well as something that currently is in it to make things simplified for our customers. We'll go ahead and I appreciate your time. It's, things are moving at such a fast pace, and you guys took a little time to be able to be with us. I appreciate that. I hope we can have. Sorry, yeah. I hope we can have you again as things move forward with full disk encryption and other ZESM topics. We just love to have you on again so that we can see what's going on. That's what ZENcast is all about, is being able to show the customer real-time new stuff. So I appreciate you guys joining us. Dave, Richard, thank you again.
Right. Thanks, Paul.
You have a great day.
Thanks.
We'll talk soon. There we have it. Okay, we did the lab and the demo. Here's a couple of documentation links for the full disk encryption and being able to do some of your full disk encryption, making an ERI disk. There are a couple webinars or videos out there. What's new in ZENworks 2020 Protect? And there's a series, actually 3 of them, but this is one that pertains to FDE. And then Protecting Data with ZENworks is out there as a webinar. It's an older, it was out this last year. So go there. As 2020 came out, they did this one. And then there's also a SmartCipher. We won't get into that today, but Micro Focus has a product called Voltage SmartCipher. Harjinder, thank you for coming in today. I appreciate your visiting with us. We'll again dub over some of the blank screens and get you some details on those, as well as covering them in the next ZENcast so that we can follow up. Let's see, next time in the lab, ZENcast, November 17th. We're going to be covering the dreaded ZENworks certificates, right? So how many love certificates? Every time I just get cold sweats when I was a customer, every time a certificate issue would come up. I had one, and it only happened once, where the certificate expired. And that was a bad day, right? We all know how that happens. But that was a long time ago, and I learned from that. So we're going to hopefully cover some certificates and make things a little bit easier for everybody about certificates, so that it's just not such a mystery. And that'll be the next ZENcast, which is on November 7th. I don't know if I don't have anything else for you. I appreciate everybody coming aboard. I just want to say thank you for joining. Stay safe and keep smiling. And we'll see you next time on the next ZENcast. Thank you again, everybody. Have a great week.